This is the IA Excel example part 2. In this example, we're going to compute marginal and conditional distributions and then build bar graphs for these distributions. So we'll do the marginal distribution first. To do this is basically just what percentage of each row contributes to the total. So I'm just going to take my row total divided by my overall total. And since I'm going to drag this down for the entire row, I need to make sure I lock that totals column. And then I'll press enter and drag down. Notice here that I've already converted these into percentages. The way I did that was I just went to the percent button and then I added in decimals using this button. Now similarly, I'm going to do the same thing for the columns. So I'm going to say column total divided by overall total. And then I'm going to lock that because I'm going to do the same dragging trick. And I'm done. So margin distribution is done. Next thing I want to do is my conditional distributions. And when I do this conditional distribution, I want to do it relative to the independent variable, the heights. So I'm going to go across the table. I'm going to take cell total divided by row total. And again, because I'm going to do this for the condition of height, I'm going to go across the column. So I'm going to lock that row total and then drag to the right. And then just repeat that process for each row. There. Okay. So let's start by building our bar graph here for the conditional distributions. So I'm going to highlight both the labels and my inners for this. And I'm going to press insert. And I'm going to go to the bar charts here. And I want to use this one. But if I look at this chart, I notice that what it's done is it's done this rather than by row. It's given me columns. So notice that the shoe sizes are the x-axis, which implies the shoe sizes are the conditions. That's not how I want to format this. So I'm going to go to the line glass here and do select data. And then I'm just going to switch the rows and columns. So now it is gone by rows. So notice the independent variable is now my category, and the first now my condition, and then the bars are each individual categories inside of that condition. So that's good. I will add in some labels. Oops, not that. Axis titles, and we'll go and name these. So this axis is height. I spelled it correctly. In inches, and this one is shoe size, or I'm sorry, percentage. And maybe I should probably just call this the condition, which is height in inches. And this would be the conditional distribution. And now I will move, I clicked on this to get the move chart option and to a new sheet. And I'll rename this my conditional distribution. And I guess I might as well rename this now my scatter. Again, I don't want to get confused on which one's which, and I'll go back to my raw. For my marginal, so I'll go ahead and do the same thing there. So I'm going to highlight this much. Again, I only want the independent variables. So I'll do insert, bar graph, and I get, again, something that doesn't make a lot of sense, but the reason is I need to swap the rows and columns. So that also doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's try this again. Let's just highlight this. Sorry. And oops. Okay, and now we'll go launch 1 or 2 or 3. I just wanted to show 4. And that's fine. And names. So we'll do axis titles. And that should be fine. So this axis is the heights. And this is percentage. This is the marginal distribution for height. And I don't really even want that there, so I'm just going to delete that axis. And that looks all fine. I'll move this to its own sheet. And I'll rename this so I remember what it is as Marge. And I've now finished with my distributions. The last thing I need to do is to do my chi-squared test and find the p-value and that sort of thing. But I will not do that on Excel, will I? I don't remember. Let's see what. Yeah. I think this will do. If I highlight that, it might spit out what I'm looking for. Too few arguments in this function. Okay? So it actually needs my expected counts in here also. So I'll just go up to my formula and put a comma, and then put in my expected counts also. And that is wrong. So I will not be doing this on Excel. I'm going to just do that other part on my calculator. And that's not so bad because all I have to do is type in my expected counts or my observed counts, and the calculator will handle the rest of that. So let's just walk through doing that one more time. So I'll pull out my calculator. And what I need to do is I need to type in my data into a matrix. I'm going to type mine into matrix A. So that matrix is this table, so I'm going to do 11. Oops. 11, 5, 1, 6, 6, 4, 0, 5, 12. Now I'm going to exit out of here, press stat, test, chi-squared test. I'm going to put my stuff in matrix A, and I'm going to store my expected counts in matrix B, and I'm going to just press enter. So here's my chi-squared value, and here's my p-value, and it looks like what that Excel calculation did is it output my p-value. But this p-value is enormously small. Certainly this p-value is less than alpha. Notice that times 10 to the negative fourth at the end. So this is clearly less than 5%. So I can accept my null hypothesis that these two things are associated. Not surprising, considering we talked about that shoe size and height are biologically related because most organisms grow proportionally. And that finishes all my statistics. So, for your Turnitin, what Mr. Kulik is going to want to see is a sheet that says labeled as your raw data that has your height, shoe size, or your two variables in it. I don't need anything other than your two variables in that sheet, so if you've done some processing, that's okay. And then I should see these values over here, your mean, standard deviations, and R values, and then, if applicable, your A and B values for your regression line. And I should see a observed counts two-way table. This two-way table must be at least 3 by 2. Mine is a 3 by 3, which is fine because I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Bigger than 3 by 3 is fine. You probably won't want to go bigger than 3 by 3. It'll be hard to get your expected counts large enough. I need to see an expected counts table where all the expected counts are greater than 5. If they're not greater than 5, you should rearrange things up here to try to get that to happen. If you need help, come talk to me. I should see a marginal distributions table, and I should see a conditional distributions table. So that's what I'm looking for in your sheet that you'll label raw. I should also see a scatter plot as a page. I should see a marginal distribution bar graph for your independent variable. And then I should see a conditional distribution bar graph where the condition is on the x-axis and your different bars are the different categories inside of that condition. So independent and then dependent. The way I would like you to submit this to me is I would like you to email me this sheet to akulik@ndpma.org. And I would like you to format the subject line of that email on the same way that's on our Haiku page. So if I went to the Haiku page for the class, and I look at, make sure I'm logged in, I suppose. And then I look at the internal assessment. I'll look at the data turn in PDF. And what that will say is some specific instructions on how I want the email formatted. So subject line, period number, colon, IB math project data, and then I'll link to your Google Doc. I actually want the Excel file in there, so mix that. And the things that I need to see, again, you want your raw data where all the weird stuff is not included, your two-way observed counts, your two-way expected counts, and then you need to make sure that you pass the large counts test for your chi-squared, just like we had said. And then I want to see your charts and your raws. So this is a 15-point doodad. I may take some deductions if there are massive errors in here, so I will kind of run your numbers through the same kind of thing that I did right here, just to make sure that you've calculated your means correctly, you've calculated your expected counts correctly, your two-way table works, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to double check on you just to make sure that you've done things correctly. If you have questions on things, please come talk to me. Good luck!